Hey Zwifters, welcome back to another Recon. We're in Watopia and it's the Two Bridges loop, one of my favourite racing loops on this platform. 6 laps for A and B riders, that's 43 kilometres. It's 36 kilometres for C and D, that's 5 laps. Just one segment, which is the JWB sprint, so plenty of FAL points, but not necessarily all for the sprinters. Let's dive in and take a look. All right, welcome back to another Recon. Now, I know I said I wasn't going to do another video for this course, but I think there's some new opportunities we've spotted. And I also want to spend a little bit more time looking at that JWB sprint and how to tackle that, because you've got that little descent before the sprint itself. And I just want to make sure these big gun sprinters don't have it all their own way on this course. All right, so as always, here are the Recon notes. You can find these Recon notes along with links to all the existing Recon videos over on levelvelo.cc. I'll leave a link in the description below. While you're there, why not check out some of the really cool indoor cycling clothing that we've got at levelvelo.cc. The Level Velo indoor shorts are really cool, and thank you to everyone who has supported the brand so far this season. You guys are absolutely awesome. Go and check out some of the kit, as many members of the community have already. All right, so we're talking about the Two Bridges loop today. So I'm going to be focused on the power-ups and the distances for ZRL in this current season. But again, it doesn't necessarily mean if you're looking at this Recon video later on that these particular power-ups and distances are relevant, but all the features on the course and on the lap will absolutely be relevant if you're taking part in an event here in Watopia on the Two Bridges loop. All right then, in terms of power-ups, it's the 3 big guns today. We've got the Aero, the Draft and the Feather, all super useful in particular parts of this course, whether that be sprint or that first section of the Zwift KQOM that we're going to be taking on in the later point in this lap before we descend back down to Watopia. It's a reasonably short lap. So again, we are doing this sprint section, the JWB sprint, 5 or 6 times respectively, dependent on your category. So on the face of things, there's plenty of FAL points, first across the line points to be picking up. But don't forget, there is FTS as well, but that's for the whole race. The key here, dependent on the strategy of your team, is how do we stop those big gun sprinters picking up the first across the line every single lap. And that's where we've got to be pushing through the SEs and focused on the bottom segment of this Zwift KQOM. So let's get on course, take a look and see what the plan's going to be. All right, just before we roll out to the pens, let's talk about bike choice. It's really simple, it's really straightforward. Go for the most aero setup you can on this particular course. I know I've mentioned the Zwift KQOM, but it's only 900 meters. The rest of the course is fairly flat to rolling, and the aero bike is the best choice. As always, go and check out the Zwift Insider pages. I've left a link to that in the description below as well, and find the most aero setup at your level we can. All right, so we're sat in the pens in downtown Watopia. We're going to take a right, and thankfully we're going to roll straight through the banner and pick a power up pretty early on. We're then going to head towards this first section of the SEs. Now you're going to take the left-hand turn into the SEs at kilometre 1 on this first lap. And again, check the Recon notes for future laps and those distance markers that I've noted down for the start of the SEs. So you're going to roll through the SEs, and there is an opportunity here. If you want to make it hard for those sprinters, those 15-second powerhouses, then the SEs, it is possible to do. So you're going to roll through the SEs here, and we're going to start to very quickly lead towards the first intermediate of the day, which is the JWB sprint. All right, so let's take a look at this JW sprint in a little bit more detail. The sprint itself, 200 meters, it is pan flat across this bridge for the whole segment. But it's the lead in to the sprint which is the most crucial part of this. As you can see, we start to descend towards this left-hand turn that takes us onto the bridge. It's this descent that you have to utilize to your advantage if you want the fastest through. In particular, picking up that speed, picking up momentum, pushing through the peloton or the group that you're with to maximize the point opportunities. As soon as you take that left-hand turn, you've got to power over that bridge and drive it all the way to the banner on the other side. Again, first across the line and the fastest through segments before we then start to roll through the Italian villas and then towards the Zwift KQOM. It's highly likely that on this intermediate on the first lap is where the FTS, the fastest through segment, is going to be picked up. The group is likely to be bigger, so the speed should be higher. You will also have power-ups. Remember, the two most useful power-ups for this particular intermediate, of course, will be the draft. 30 seconds, really useful for driving through that peloton. But of course, you've also got the aero as well. So again, think about how and when you're going to deploy those power-ups to maximize the speed and maximize the opportunity to maximize those points. All right, so immediately after the sprint, we're going to roll through the Italian villas and we're going to start to head towards the foot of the Zwift KQOM. Bear in mind, this is not an intermediate segment. There are no points to be had here, but there are opportunities if you want to reduce the size of that front group, therefore increasing your chances of first across the line points. There are a couple of times here that you should think about doing it. And again, if you've got a team full of punchers and you want to shake some of those big sprinters, this is what I would think about doing. All right, so after this little rolling section here, we're going to roll towards the Zwift KQOM start. But bear in mind, we're only doing half of the climb, or the first section of the climb, but it is the punchier part of the climb. You'll see the little marker here, the first lap, that comes at kilometer 5. 900 meters here, you're going to head towards those iconic statues. It does pitch up to 11% in places, but you need to be applying the pressure on this climb lap after lap if you want to reduce those numbers and again pick up those points and take them away from those sprinters. Once we round the back of those statues across the top, you're then going to take a left-hand turn here and head towards the descent and back towards downtown Watopia. Okay, so after that climb, we've got a little descent now, which is going to take us into downtown Watopia. This descent starts on the first lap at kilometer 5.9. Don't forget, all the distance markers of the start-finish banner, the intermediate, the climb, and the descent are available on those Recon notes, which you can download, and you'll find a link to that in the description below, so you can download and use those to your heart's content, and by all means share those with the rest of your team. But you're going to utilize this descent again to keep the pressure on, keep the speed high in whatever group you're in, and roll towards that finish banner. Now on the last lap, it's about where you choose to make your attack, and again that will depend on your legs, on your skill as a rider, but also the size of the group that you are with. So again, if the group is fairly small, you may decide to make your attack on the climb. And again, you may choose to wait until this flatter section as we roll towards this finishing banner here. So this is the finishing banner. Take a good look. I'll roll this through a couple of times so you can make a decision on how you're going to finish this race and pick up those finish line points on that final lap. So that's it, that's the lap. 5 or 6 laps dependent on your category. So that's 43 kilometers for the A's and B's, 36 kilometers for the C and D's. I think this is a great course. There's something for everybody. And again, if you've got a technical and tactical team, there's plenty to think about here and how this is going to play out in the different teams and the different divisions across the Zwift Racing League. In terms of recons, there are plenty available. Of course, you've got the Recon, as always, one of my favorite picks. That's on a Sunday evening. No doubt I have some riders giving some additional tips and advice on that particular one. Team Italy are also doing their Recon races over the weekend as well. Have a great week's training, enjoy the event, and I'll see you soon for another Recon.